following, good morning to you, everybody. For those who are following on the little inspiration period, this morning we jumped off, and I had little bit of technical difficulty getting some things going, but I still don't have it the way I want it. Nevertheless, all things are good as long as we're broadcasting. That's it. Today we're in the outside broadcast unit, like I said this morning or last night. um the feeling since last night was that I wasn't up to going and getting things put together and set up the studio, and I don't have patience for that this morning. Since last night I felt it. But all things are good, and we are in the outside broadcast unit, the mobile unit, as we say. As a matter of fact, I'm just throw back a little. I am in my house, in the place where I live. I live out of the vehicle, according to some of the some of the lessons I learned over the past couple of months. All right, but nevertheless, it is all good here. It's just about 70 degrees, 70 degrees this morning. Neighbor mine passing there. 70 degrees here in New York City, and it's bright sunshine. It's as Joseph Rex Pereira would say, it's glorious sunshine here, not at Bordeaux, but in New York. And it's good weather for cricket. They do play cricket here in Queens, but I haven't gone around to that location for a pretty long time, so I don't even know what things are looking like down at that end. They play cricket here at the Paisley Park area, and have a lot of fun. At least that's one of the places that they usually play, right? Um, Lots of things going on around the world today. I don't know what the weather is like in Guyana in terms of temperature, but I know it's raining cats and dogs in Guyana. I was told, from the hinterland to the coastland to the coastal plains, it's raining cats and dogs, and that is contributing to a lot of um, water remaining on the land in a lot of places in Guyana. And that is one of our focuses, where we're going to focus our attention for a little bit this morning, in one of the spots where for a little bit. And then I have a few other bits of information to share with you as we roll. I have often indicated that, without any shame, without any fear of contradiction, without any fear of anything, I have always indicated that I am a Bartitian. I am a born and bred Bartitian. Do you understand me? No twisting and turning that. I'm a Bartitian, just like how I run around the place and I pump it up. I am a Guyanese. Yes, I am a Guyanese. And I am a Bartitian. In every sense of the word, I was born at Bartica. You understand? I grew up, I spent the early part of my childhood in Bartica, so I got my training at Bartica. The molding and everything, they say a child learns most of what is supposed to be uh, known and learned for life between 0 and 3. From the time you're born to when you get to about 3 years old, the basics are learned. And I learned the basics at Bartica. Rough and tumble, fell down, bust my knee on a bottle, nail stick, got cockroach, people roasting cockroach in margarine and throw it in the thing, hot, and got you hopping, skipping, and jumping. Bartica, yes, real thing. Sorrow Hill and Caribbees Hill, and big thing that, and very wonderful place. It has developed over the years, but for some strange reason, these days things are not regular in Bartica. People are dealing with Bartica as though it is an alien child. And when I say people, I'm talking about people in the administration, the current administration, are dealing with Bartica as though it's an alien child. And by extension, Bartica and Region 7 the whole area is being dealt with as though it's an alien child, even though a lot of the gold and diamond and so on that Guyana produces come from Region 7. It's sad that our government feels that it's their duty to alienate every single region that has not voted in their favor. Today, again, we have in our midst as our guest somebody from Bartica, a very beautiful young lady. Um, well, of course, she has told you all about herself in the previous interview, but we don't want to hear too much. We don't want to give away too much about this young lady. But she is formidable, and they don't like that. She can, she is well accounted for, properly accounted for. She can represent herself in every way, shape, and form. And Bartitians are proud of her. She served as the deputy mayor of Bartica for a while, and then was elevated to the position of the vice chairman of Region 7. I speak of no other than Miss Kamala oh, shucks, I almost said Kamala Harris. I almost said Kamala Harris. That is how good the young lady is. Welcome to the show this morning again, Miss Common Vice Chairman.
Thank you so much, my fellow Bartitian. Thank you. Good morning to everyone listening and viewing this program. It's a pleasure to be here to share with you this morning. And I thank you, especially Mr. Burke, for that. I'm elated with that introduction.
Good things come out of Barca. Listen, Barca produces a lot of the gold miners and gold seekers and the people who can take you to where the gold and diamond is. You know, Barca produced a lot of very outstanding persons. Barca had a very a nationally known sprinter. Um, you know, we had a regional chairman coming out of Barca, even though he wasn't the chairman of Bartica, but he was a regional chairman. He has roots in Barca. I'm talking of Brent Archer. You know,
Yes,
several people. The Knights, lots and lots of people. The
yes, yes.
Gandhis, you know, the Smarts, lots of people. You can talk about all of them. So we got to big up Barca every time we speak about Bartica and
Yes,
Bartish.
yes, definitely. I can tell you this for sure. Bartitians are the best people in the world, and they're remarkable in their accomplishments, and wherever they go, they're the most hospitable people.
Amen. Amen. And we were God fearing people too.
Oh, definitely. Yes, definitely. They
Amen.
were brought up with very high morals.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I mean, like, we're not gloating right now, but we're taking the accolades as they are available because of the fact that we know that when people go to Barca, they don't ever want to leave. As a matter of fact, they're saying that as long as you go to Guyana and you drink the black water was at the time when that phrase was coined attributed to Bartica, going to visit Bartica, and they eat the lava. Well, then the lava is available in many other places, but the black water is Bartica. We are hospitable. We like to host people. We like to be nice to everybody. The only thing is that when people come, they don't want to go, and sometimes we don't like when they stay too long because they don't behave well sometimes. But once they well behave, we welcome them all the time, right?
Sometimes that is mess up our good vibe.
Yes, she was.
They want to bring some of their bad energy, but we
That
don't allow it, and it don't last for long. Yes,
that's what I'm
yes,
saying. That's
yes.
what I'm saying.
Like everywhere else. And
Yeah.
definitely, we're not gloating. What I've stated is what you would hear from anybody who has any knowledge of dealing with Bartico, visiting Bartico, being around Bartico, living in Bartico. So it's factual. It's not
Yeah.
gloating. It's good too, like you said. Yes.
Yeah, we take the accolades when they're available to us, definitely.
Yeah. And
Getting to
we're a resilient people. We are
oh yeah.
definitely a very resilient people because we've suffered tremendously over decades, from being underdeveloped for many,
Mhm.
many decades, being a neglected community when it comes to infrastructure, education, and healthcare. So we are a resilient people and we are there. And like the many people that you mentioned, and so many more that work
Mhm.
so hard to ensure that Bartica, the children of Bartica, get better opportunities.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And we're happy that we're around at least to see the development of Bartica now. It was embarrassing to note that even though Bartica was the first Bartica, it should be noted, Bartica is the home of regatta. That's the
Yeah.
first place that regattas were being held. So Barca is a home of regatta. Lots of tourists would go to Barca Easter time to enjoy our sandy beaches and enjoy the sunshine and the water and the boat racing. But
Yeah.
still, they never thought of bringing development to Barca. Why do you have any information as to why they took so long?
I would have sounded a bit biased because being born in Bartica and living in Bartica, but it's actually Cayuni Mazzaroni, and Cayuni Mazzaroni is one of the most beautiful regions in Guyana. You know the
Yeah.
landscape. We're a combination of communities, riverine communities, and when I visit a lot of the riverine communities to see how underdeveloped they are, from something as simple as a health center. It shouldn't have to take 3 decades to accomplish these things with, given the fact that Region 7 holds the highest deposit of mineral,
Mhm.
diamond, gold, and so many other natural resources that is being harvested. They have a lot of foreign companies that are in Region 7, benefiting tremendously from the natural resources. So to have such an underdeveloped region that has been contributing to our GDP so greatly, mining has been the bedrock and the backbone of Guyana's economy for decades. We're
Yeah.
now hearing, we now know of oil, but oil hasn't done anything as yet for Guyana. We're
No.
still very dependent on the other natural resources that has been there.
That is so true, and like you keep saying, and I keep repeating as well. Um, the bulk. As a matter of fact, I would dare say all of Guyana's mineral wealth, except for bauxite, come from the Region 7 area, Cayuni,
Yes,
Mazaru. Well, most of it
yeah,
come from Region 7. Some of it is in
yeah.
Region 8, the Potaro Siperuni, and a very little bit might be found somewhere in Region 9, but Region
And
7 is the
there
bedrock.
are other regions, the Region 1 and so forth, but Region 7 definitely has the highest deposit found in
Definitely, definitely.
Guyana.
But
So it is the richest region in terms of natural resources, mineral
resources,
resources. Yes.
as well as our natural resources in the form of flora and fauna too. One of the richest
Oh yes.
regions.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Anyone that comes to Region 7, even if it's right within the township of Barton, they get to experience the Marshall Falls and the
Mhm.
Tipiru Falls and just a little around, which is not venturing very far into the region. They're always blown away. You can find exotic fruits, animal, birds, all kinds, you name them. It's amazing. It's amazing what our country has to offer the outside world. It's amazing what Region 7 has to offer. Our rainforest and the many species of wood and plant that are being used for medicine and so forth.
Exactly. And you mentioned wood, and I would like to extend, and I'm just building up to what we're going to discuss. Guyana Region 7 produces a lot of the granite that is used in construction in Guyana too.
Yeah. Well,
So
right
we have
within the township, right around the township, there are so many quarrying that is happening. Where the stones are being exported and being used to build homes and roads and so forth. All of that comes from Region 7, or most of it comes from Region 7. You have so many quarries around.
definitely. But when people look at Region 7, they have this picture in their mind of a hilly place, and of course it's a very hilly place. Some parts are extremely hilly. I want to believe that um some of the steepest slopes are found in region 7. A few of the higher mountains are found in region 7. um Therefore nobody expects a place like region 7 to be associated with the word flooding. I understand that
Yeah,
there's a lot of there's a lot of water on the land in Barca. Well, I'm not sure if it's still there today, but as of day before yesterday, 2 days ago, Barca was flooded.
yeah,
Give
yeah.
us well, Barca and some of the
Amazing.
other areas. How did that happen?
Well, I'll tell you this. We started to, our weather, climate change is upon us. Our weather has been really unpredictable.
Mhm.
Bartica has always been known for a place that always see rain, especially
Yeah.
after noon. You would get a shower or so. So what you find happening, and what I observe, not being an expert, but the rising level of the river, because as you can
Mhm.
tell from some of the photographs that were circulated, the river overtopped the sea defense, the sea walls, as we would call it, and then they
Mhm.
had rainfall for uh, approximately over 4 hours, heavy rainfall. But within hours, given the two factors, and I will say not adequate enough drainage system throughout our township because of the landscape of Bartica being hilly, and I
Mhm.
don't want to necessarily say gully because it doesn't appear that way, but there are high peaks and there are low parts. So the lower lying areas, obviously the water would run down very fast from the hilly areas, but then it would settle on the low lying areas. And because of the sea river level, the water being so tremendously high because of high tide and our rising water level, so it could not run off. So probably within an hour and a half, Bartica was flooded, and I can tell you it was really, really devastating to see the effects of something as natural as rainfall and high tide. And
Mhm.
that goes back to say that we need to have broader vision and plan. When we plan, we must plan with 10 15 years thinking ahead, of what is going to change, because many of us might not have even imagined that the Essequibo River would actually flow into the township, because we're like 20 feet above sea level from Georgetown,
Mhm.
and maybe 16 feet above from Perico. So as you go into Bartica from the coastline, you're higher above sea level. We know the city is below sea level, but Bartica is not below sea level. So
Mhm.
that says where we're at, and it was truly, truly devastating. They're um, assessing the damages. I can tell you is still ongoing.
Wow.
Tremendously heartbreaking, too. Tremendously heartbreaking.
It has to be because I can I when I first got wind of the flood, I tried to throw my mind back and see if I can picture a time before this, where or how many times before this that Barca has been flooded. And that I can literally probably count it on one hand. When you had a mild flood, but I looked at my grandmother's house. I looked at my grandmother's house, and in that yard, I estimated that there was at least about a foot of water. And we're talking Fifth Avenue, right?
Yeah,
So,
and
and,
that's
and
that's
that's up,
that's just
that's high.
at the Hilly. Yes, that's higher than
Exactly.
Fourth Avenue.
So
Fourth
I'm
Avenue
thinking,
and the other avenues coming forward would be the low line, because from
right,
Fifth Avenue going up, you elevating as you go up, so it's much higher. Yeah,
exactly. So I was picturing if Fifth Avenue at that location has about a foot of water on the land,
yeah.
then what is going on down like in Front Street?
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
I was trying to picture it,
And
and then
remember,
I
the
saw
river
some
is
photographs.
overtapping too. So it's the rainwater coming down from one angle, and then the river overtapping.
But I tell you this, I have never, ever, ever seen the Essequibo River overtop the Bartica seawall. Never, ever in my life. That must have been something to observe. And the reason why I am taking the discussion in this land is
Yeah.
because when I posted it, there was a comment from a very well established individual, a very well learned and educated person. Not negatively, I guess. I guess the intent was just to show the need for us to have improved drainage. Because the comment was
Oh,
that
definitely.
the, the
I'm
lack
an
of drainage.
advocate for improved drainage. I on my very first meeting at the RDC as a counselor,
Mhm,
because I live in Fourth Avenue and there has been flooding due to rainfall for a number of years, and better drainage would definitely solve the issue. So I would agree. It's good criticism to recognize where the shortcomings are, identify what the issues are, and find solutions. So I wouldn't see somebody a Bartesian saying the drainage system is poor, because I've said that there needs to be improved network in many streets. But Mr. Burke, what contributes to it is also, a lot of people might not like to hear the full truth. But when
mhm,
you have persons that are building and they don't want to have drains as large as they were before in front of them, and then couple with that with the poor disposal of garbage, or how people litter with their food boxes and their beer bottles and all kinds of things. So when these sediments, along with sand and so forth, washes into these drains, grass
mhm,
grows too. It hinders the flow. So all of
mhm,
that is a combination that is a factor that contributes to the damaging effects that we saw 2 days ago. And we've seen it, locals in Bartica have seen some of it. It's just that this time it was really, really bad. So I would agree with that resident, that we need to have better drainage system. We can't move forward if we don't identify what needs to be fixed.
But let me ask you a critical question now. Can the regional can the regional body and or the Bartica Town Council um, generate the kind of funds that are needed to put in place the type of drainage, the type of construction that is required for the soil type in Bartica to have proper drainage?
And the landscape, because you cannot have the same sizes of drains from the top of the hill and the bottom of the hill. You'll need larger drains as you come down the hill to
Mhm.
take off the food.
But can
Um,
they afford that? The money to do that?
so so this is where we get at the matter at hand.
All right.
Definitely, I've served on the town council for 3 years.
Uh-huh.
And I do know that we do not, the municipality, the Bartica Town Council, do not generate enough income to do such work. These are large projects, and requires a lot of money. So definitely, given the fact that they're already taking care of garbage and keeping the streets clean. Listen, the Bartica Town Council has been doing a great job when it comes to beautifying and keeping Bartica as one of the nicest, cleanest place in Guyana.
Mhm.
Um, Kudos to that. Give credit where it is due.
Absolutely.
um, as it pertains to property taxes and so forth, there's always that challenge. But we're in a pandemic now; is not a good time to even
Mhm.
try to. I wouldn't even advocate for revision of that at this time. Everybody is going through terrible financial struggles. From the RDC level, um, what I can say, that is one of the reasons before we did budget preparation, I made the observation that Bartica needs better drainage. So the RDC would definitely have to collaborate with the town council, because the town council has the ultimate authority over what happens within the township when it comes to those things. But what I can tell you, it was very disappointing to see that our budget was slashed by approximately $2 billion. Our budget proposal to central government was over 5 billion, and we got just over 3 billion. And Region 7 is a very, very large region. I do believe, if I recall correctly, Region 7 is larger than the Netherlands. And because
Mm-hmm.
of the terrain and the amount of infrastructure that has to be put in a lot of the indigenous areas that were
Mm-hmm.
neglected for so many decades, simple things as a primary school, a nursery school, a health post, and these type of things. So this money has to be spread out in such a large region with a lot of communities with like 500 people, um, over that, less than that. But the children there deserve to have a good education. They deserve good facilities. They deserve proper health care, because sometimes traveling from one of these areas just to get to the regional hospital, which is in Bartica, can take almost half day and even longer. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to ensure that these communities also see development when along with the township. They should happen together. We shouldn't be neglecting one area for the other area, but then we need money to do that. And as everything else, things are a lot more expensive. So our budget was slashed, that's a fact, by $2 billion, maybe just a little bit over. I don't have the figure of my. So you can imagine, the town council would not have a problem with the RDC stepping in and doing the work, because the largest population in the region is within the Bartica area and the boundaries along Bartica and so forth. So you
Right.
do want to ensure that the people there, and because it has been a heavily neglected community for more than 2 decades, where infrastructural development, educational, healthcare, and so has been deprived for so long, there is so much that has to be done.
Hmm.
So the money is just not enough. It's not enough. But we will continue to do the best that we can, and we have to improvise and find ways to, at least, because we cannot sit by and allow people to, or just sit by and watch people suffer so tremendously. And I always believe in development should start from the bottom and go up. Like, for instance, Bartica, the internet is so poor. Connection is so unstable. It's such a welcome thing to have government give out free scholarships and so. But the thing is that how will people cope? How will the people that benefit from such scholarship cope with having very unstable internet access? Like my 12-year-old great nephew asked me, Auntie Kamal, if it's an online course, why can't people apply online rather than have to go and pack up a school in a pandemic? So I
Mm-hmm.
say, you're 12 years old and you figure out that if I'm offering an online scholarship, why can't people just apply online and you process the application from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that alone says how bad our internet. Now, I'm not laying blame on government at this point when it comes to the internet connections and so forth, because it's private companies we have. Under the Granger administration, you saw a lot of communities benefited from the government free Wi-Fi. But what has been happening over the past since late last year is a lot of these services has been experiencing a lot of technical difficulties, including the township of Bartica. So with remote learning, students at home, depending on proper connectivity,
Mm-hmm.
higher, obviously you would have a higher traffic of using the internet and so forth. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't really see how we're going to continue to move forward. We're experiencing a lot of mental struggles because it's already hard to cope with cost of living and the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now
Right. Totally
imagine trying
understand.
to study online and you're missing three quarter and you can't get the contents of your program, you know. So
Wow.
I believe in development from the bottom up, you know. You have to ensure that the communities are equipped so that people can truly benefit from whatever is being offered.
So let me ask this. I mean, we've spoken. You've spoken about the townships budget and their contribution to the upkeep of Bartica, and you've even given them kudos for the efforts they're putting in.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
indicated you've spoken about the region's contribution and intended contribution to the holistic development of the region, or I should say the regional administration's contribution. But I have not heard anything about the government's investment in Barbican. And just before you go, before you respond, I'm observing in today's chronicle, not yesterday or last week or last month. Today's chronicle, the government is saying that they intend to spend 6 billion Ghana dollars. In other words, 30 million US dollars. They're spending supposedly on improving the water systems in areas of regions 2, 3, 5, and 6. I'm observing that those are all regions that they control. Those are
Mhm.
all regions
And that
where
is a pattern you're seeing throughout the with decision making. It's a pattern. It is a pattern.
so there's open discrimination then we're seeing.
There is selective support to communities. There is selective support. I can tell you this. I sat back from since Christmas, during Christmas time, and there were, you know, as usual, any government they hand out toys and so I was looking forward that the children of the township would benefit from, you know, I mean, given the time, uh, you need something to make the children feel happy. So I
Right.
started to observe quietly from since then what has been happening, what you see happening in the areas surrounding Bartico from the time of hampers being distributed for COVID relief, the cash grant, the 25,000 cash grant. What I observe is the selective support, the areas that produced more support for the current government. They had no issues and they've received hampers, and I'm thankful. So, anybody out there listening, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that you benefit. But what about the people that hasn't gotten anything? What about those that still holding a pink slip? You know, I have
Hmm.
mothers, single parents, in my inbox on a daily basis who you know they can't bear it anymore. They just want to share what they're experiencing in terms of hardship. I had
Hmm.
one of the cleaners of the RDC come into my office, I think on Monday, and she was telling me that she has an 8-year old at home and a 12-year old, and she's a single mother. And her salary is obviously the same before the change of government, before the pandemic, and so on. But Mr. Burke, every single thing in the marketplace and in the grocery store, every single price has gone up. From
Yes.
something as simple as a point of broom in Bartica that used to be 500, $400, it's $700. Every single thing is going up. I
A
can't
broom is
imagine
five
how
hundred
these
dollars.
people pay a rent, how they pay rent, how they pay light bill, water bill, if they manage to have cable service in their home because you need the learning channel and so forth to have your child receive education or stay learning something. So I don't know how they manage and on $70,000. I really don't know because I live alone. I spend modestly, pay my bills and so forth. And it it would be very, very difficult. And I live in my own house. It would be very, very difficult for me to even make ends meet
Hmm.
with that kind of money. and having children to provide for, you still have to buy stuff that they need. They're learning, they still need, their pencils and crayons and so.
Yeah.
So it's it's a very terrible situation. I really, my heart breaks for the poor people, the people that are struggling, and let's not, it's unimaginable the people that have lost their jobs. um and it comes both from private sector and public sector because we're in a pandemic. That's understandable to some extent, but the heartless situation. And just last night before I go to bed, I saw that the government said that there will be a 40% reintroduction of tax on something as simple as soap that you bathe with, that you
Mhm.
clean, that you wash your hands. I mean, how who's making these decisions? How can you even think at a time like this when cost of living is so high, when people are struggling, when people have lost their jobs? Something like soap, you're going to put 40% tax on, man. That alone for me shows the kind of people that are making these decisions, and something as simple as that. And guess what? The people that owns the stores and so forth, they're not going to feel the blunt of it because it trickles down to the
Yes.
smallest man, that because they're the ones who are going to pay the 40%.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
understand? And it's devastating, man. I see a lot of people finally realize that beef is $800 a pound now. Now I don't consume beef or so, but I know that the price of beef has been rising from since about 2 months back. Because I mean, I talk to people on the ground, so I know. So I don't know how simply feeding your children in this country to boost of a progressing economy and boost of 5-star hotels and all of these things. It's wonderful for your country to develop. I applaud any development, but you
Mhm.
cannot focus on those things when you have people that are literally dying. Now you have the vaccine rollout. um, I was fortunate to have my second shot and to see now that persons who receive their first shot will not be able to get their second shot until indefinitely. I mean, what kind
Oh.
of planning are you doing when you know if you give 40,000 people the first dose, you have to have a second dose of 40,000 so you can give it to them? It's as simple as
Mhm.
that. And the Ministry of Health has so many advisors and all of these people. Elementary would tell you that it's simple as that. If a second dose is required and you give 100, you need to have another 100 for the second dose. Planning, Eh, man, everything is frustrating in Guyana. Every single thing. To be a Guyanese at this particular time, we're really resilient people, and despite of political persuasion at this point of time, a lot of people are becoming more and more frustrated with the decisions that are being made because although they say reduce taxes and this and that, nothing is being reduced. It's fancy words, to look
Yeah.
good. It's fancy words. It's not happening. And if it was happening, I would be the first to say, you know what? I'm happy that the people can benefit because ultimately, as Guyanese, as Bartisian, as a resident of Region 7, that's what we want, a better life for the people of our country, a
Mhm.
high
Mhm.
standard of living. That's first priority for me.
It's indeed frustrating. But let me ask you another question now. Aside from all of that, let's get back to the economic side of Region 7. I remember when I was working in Region 4, that along with some other along with government funding and all of that, the regional administration controlled some aspects of the natural resource utilization. So, for example, Region 4 administration controlled the loom, the sale of loom. Loom, they had the loom pit. So when you go to buy loom, you have to deposit your funds down there. and then go pick it up and what have you. A lot of the gold and diamond, like we said, and I understand we've got magnesium and manganese and a whole host of other uranium and all kind of thing. A lot of these things are coming from Region 7. Does the regional administration have the prerogative to exact a fee, whether it be a tax or just a fee or whatever, from whoever is extracting these natural resources so that it can help to build, it can help to boost the the region's economy? Do you have that prerogative?
And the region administration can utilize those revenue where they see fit. No, that's not happening. And since I
Wow.
became involved, and from the level of the municipality, this is something that I've been voicing my concerns over. You know, you're exploiting a region that contributes billions of dollars to the GDP, and you barely giving back 3 point something, while you bailing out another region, just the sugar industry with 8-9 billion, and I just see it as not equitable. You know, the region is producing so greatly. We should benefit, and all the large mining, medium scale mining, and so forth. No, the region does not have a say. When um, the Ali administration took office, I recognized through the media that a license was granted for quarrying in what I would say Lower Mazaruni. Now, right within the boundary lines of the township, you have Tipiru Quarry,
Mhm.
which is BK. You have Tulsi Pasad, and you have some other quarrying happening there. So I was quite appalled to say such a decision was being made for Region 7. You know, you got to think about the safety of the communities around with
Hmm.
large quarrying taking place, and what kind of impact it would have on the environment. Um, Thankfully, I can say that when I met with the minister and I air my concerns over that, because of the close proximity to BK's quarry and so forth. And what he told me is that that license was not, either it was granted and rescinded, or it was not actually granted. I don't have what is the actual fact of it, but that was what I was told, and I don't believe that any quarry yet. So I'm happy that they pull back on that decision. But I was saying that the RDC, these decisions should actually should ultimately be approved by the RDC, because the people of Region 7 has elected these
Exactly.
officials to make decisions on behalf of their area. And this
Mhm.
is a region, and we should be able to have a say. There is no problem in working collaboratively, but ultimately, the RDC should know what is happening within the region. But that's not what is happening in Guyana. And I hope that moving forward, it might not be able to happen in the very near future. But I believe that moving forward, that is what should be happening. You know, at least we should have the last say in what happens within the region.
I definitely agree, and these are questions that I keep coming up with all the time. They're kind of bothering me. Alongside that, yeah, I have a whole lot of other questions.
Mhm.
That the people at the region um don't necessarily have the answers for. Like
Yeah,
how how much will it cost? My apologies, it's getting me
that's
there, right? um, I realize that going back to the drainage situation, it's going to cost a lot of money to put in the type of infrastructure because Bartica is a sandy and hilly place. Something that mirrors the Linden situation mirrors it, and therefore you just can't like on the coastland, where to say like them have these just a dig one gutter and water run good, you know.
yeah.
You have to put
It would
certain,
not work. It would not work in vertical. That
definitely not.
it needs experts to really analyze and to plan very futuristically because Bartica is a developing township.
Mhm.
The influx of vehicles, more homes. When I was a little girl growing up, there was just one house in a yard, but now you have split lots because it's the easiest way to give your adult child a piece of land to start their life. And
Yes.
so the population is growing, and obviously the systems that are in place there is simply not adequate, from as simple as the road network, and the narrow roads and so forth. We're known to be one of the mining towns in Guyana, and we have a large flow of big vehicles
Right.
transporting fuel and food stuff. Heavy machinery and all of these things use these roads. So it just does not withstand the kind of strain that is put in place. So we need to have people with the right knowledge to make the decisions rather than give us a quick fix. I would rather have good roads, good drainage, good electricity. Well, thank God for the David Granger administration. Bartica does not necessarily suffer from prolonged blackouts because we have a brand new power station, and uh, it didn't even take 5 years to solve that issue. We still have a little issues with water coming through the taps and the quality of water, and it has gotten a little worse recently. Um, so
Hmm.
if we can have those things and good healthcare and a good um, education system, we would be on our way to real development. You can't just put a plaster on a store and expect that that's going to fix the problem. I don't see it that way. And anybody who says that come in and just dig the drains and clean the drains and just wait for the next time, that is not planning ahead. You need to have a complete revision of the drainage networks, the CD fence, because obviously, as time progresses, it will get worse.
Hmm.
It's a global situation, climate change and global warming. So you have to prepare. Guyana does not suffer from a lot of the natural disasters like, hurricanes and so forth. But um, I wouldn't want to say that in the future you can't see changes in weather, certain weathers. I wouldn't want that to happen, but
Hmm.
strange things has been happening. We had a number of volcanoes erupted over the past couple of months throughout the world, not just in it was
St.
St.
Vincent.
Vincent and Grenada,
Mhm.
and there were more
Right.
volcanoes that erupted throughout the world. So, unpredictable, Mother Nature is going to do her thing. And when we don't treat Mother Nature correctly and we don't plan for her, then we will feel the devastating effects of it. Nobody wins when it comes to Mother Nature. And when she fights back, she fights with vengeance and all the fierceness. Nobody is going to stop Mother Nature. What
Hmm.
we have to do is ensure that we change the course that we're on and start to dispose of our garbage. As something as simple as that can make such a huge difference in Guyana. It is so sad to say to this in this time that we have such a huge issue with garbage disposal. And you know the thing, Mr. Burke,
Hmm.
when very Guyanese like myself, and so as soon as we step out to Guyana, we don't throw a sweetie paper on the road. Why is it? Why is it not the same with us here? You're driving in Guyana, people pelting food boxes, bottles,
Mhm.
they're drinking beers, they're throwing it in the road corner. And guess what? They cry when you see the harmful effects of these poor behavior, and they blame every single person in authority, especially the ones that they may not support. They see all the faults. Like Bartica, for instance.
Hmm.
I'm quite active on social media with my own little platform and so forth. And it was very disappointing to see some of the criticisms and lavish opinions of local Barticians.
Oh,
Um,
really?
talking about the management of the flood and how it was handled. Now, I explained to you at first, I didn't blame anybody but nature, water rising
Mm.
in the river, and the heavy rainfall. We inherited poor drainage. Poor drainage has been there. Um, to some extent, we do have drains. It's not that bad, but for the effect of this type of weather, you
Right,
know,
right.
and to see them so lavish in their criticism of the mayor and how they it could have been better if this was done or if that was done, and everybody's an expert because social media makes everybody an expert. Everybody has an opinion, but
Mhm.
guess what, some of these very people are very silent when it comes to the great incompetence and mismanagement of this pandemic and the spread of COVID-19 currently in Guyana. You know, it breaks my heart to see people can be so silent when their well being is at
Hmm.
stake, you know, their family's well being is at stake. You know, our first priority is our safety, you know, our health. And these very people are so silent. Bartica Hospital had a drug shortage for months to the point where there wasn't drugs to treat something as simply as diarrhea. You
Hmm.
understand
Wow.
me? You understand me? And these very people were so silent. You know, I mean, come on. As a people, we should be united in these causes. Come out and give your support. It is a situation that the mayor or the chairman or the deputy mayor, the vice chairman, nobody, as a matter of fact, in Bartica could have done anything better. And as far as I'm concerned, kudos to all those who reached out and all those who, you know, sometimes a simple encouraging word. People, there are people that understand that there is a limit to what the officials can do,
Can do. Yeah.
right? We don't have a magic wand at our hand, and a lot of times they don't know the constraints that you face. Regionally, you're in government, but centrally, you're in opposition. So it puts you at a great disadvantage. And then when you have people undermining your authority,
Hmm.
and depriving you of the support that you're supposed to give. They would rather see the people of a region suffer rather than do the right thing. As a government, you're not a political party. When you're a government for the people,
Yes, yes, definitely.
right?
Definitely.
That
And
is
that's
my
what you're
belief.
saying all the time.
That is my belief. When you're a government for the people. Guyana has such a small population and such great wealth. Guyana is a rich country. I hate to hear people say Guyana is a poor country. Guyana is
Hmm.
poorly managed.
Money.
Guyana is
Exactly.
poorly managed. You understand? Guyana is one of the, you know, one of the most blessed country, and I love my country. And I've
Mm-hmm.
had the opportunity so many times to just walk away. People ask me sometimes, you know, it's only in 2015 I made the bold move to jump into politics. I know nothing of politics, but I just wanted to see better for the people simply of my community. Start from there, you know? And they ask, why did you get involved? And ultimately, that's why I get involved because I believe every Guyanese deserves to have a good standard of living,
Right,
you
right.
know?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we got a lot of work to do in Region 7. Some of the forces are against us, but the ultimate force is for us. And
I
we're going to
government.
continue to do the very, very best that we can to ensure that everyone enjoys development and enjoy whatever there is. So we're not in for division and disunity. And despite those forces are there, we will not allow that kind of energy to control who we are as a people, who we are as a coalition, um, and to serve the people. That's what we're there for, to serve the people.
One of the things that came to my mind is that since you may not be receiving the amount of financial support in particular from the current administration, um, wouldn't it be a viable thing to explore the possibility of identifying manageable projects within even Bartica, but extend it for the region and get the estimate for those projects and reach out to people from the community who are in the diaspora, wherever, to see if we can pool our resources with regard to getting those, especially critical projects. Like, for example, like I keep going back to the drainage. You gotta have concrete drains in Bartica for it to work. You've gotta have revetted
But
drains.
not just concrete drains, adequate drains, because we do have
Exactly.
concrete drains, but they're very narrow. They're like yard drains in some area.
Well, I remember. I remember.
There were a lot of blunder. There were a lot of blunder when we moved away some parts of Bartica from the earthen drain to the concrete drain. Any right-minded thinking partition at that point, and a lot of local partition voiced their concern over the size and the depth and so forth of the drainage. But sometimes, because you're not certified, you might not be qualified to say this isn't adequate. I mean, the locals always have a sense of what is best for that
Right.
particular area. But a lot of
Mhm.
times, one of our failures is a lot of time the people don't listen, the ones that ultimately decides what happens.
Mhm.
So we're experiencing because of those poor decisions that was made. So we do have concrete drains, um, not wide enough, not deep enough, not not expertly done in the sense that for the areas that takes off the heavier flow of the water,
Mhm.
where the water actually um, catches and it settles there for some time before it can actually go out into the river
Mhm.
and drain
Mhm.
out from the land. Yes.
The other thing is the region considering Barca, like I told the person that I spoke about earlier, who made a comment or made an observation, I should say. Um, I indicated Barca, as far as I know, is strictly dependent on natural drainage to get rid of its the excess water on the land.
Hmm.
Is there any plan to install a pump or two so that if you have a crisis, not necessarily like the one you had there the other day, because if the water is overtapping and you're having heavy rainfall, there's absolutely, whether you're in government or you're in opposition, there's absolutely nothing you can do. That's nature. But if you have a pump and natural drainage, you can get the water off faster when the opportunity comes. Is there such a plan?
Well, definitely that is one of the solutions. That would be something once implemented that would solve a lot of the problems. And going forward, as far as I'm concerned, any community, because the flooding that is happening that we saw in Bartica, it's across the country. You saw let them completely flooded out
Mm-hmm.
to unimaginable levels, and so many other regions across Guyana. So moving forward, we definitely have to put systems in place and plan ahead for the reoccurrences of such situation. Although, like I said, we cannot stop the rain, we cannot stop the high tide, we cannot stop Mother Nature, but we can
Right.
prepare for her, and we have to prepare for her expertly, not just come in and say this will fix it and that will fix it without having proper advice and getting more people involved rather than a few people making decisions. So definitely. But like I said, the money that is there, budgeted for this year, has to stretch thin, and we will we will myself, actually, I will ensure that I advocate for emergency works. We have to fix what is most important at the time
Mm-hmm.
and move
Yes.
forward from there, because to the people of Bartica and all those that were affected because of this flooding on Independence Day, my heart breaks for each and every one. I suffer, my
Mm.
family suffer as well. We weren't excluded from it. Um, but our resilience, like I speak of, but there are some people that basically lost everything they might have had except with the house that they're in and so forth, documents destroyed, businesses suffer millions, tremendous losses. Whether you're rich or you poor, you were affected heavily. So my heart breaks for the people. We have to ensure that we put systems in place to better their lives and to ensure that, in the effects of this type of weather and so forth, that we're better prepared to safeguard our people.
All right. Well, I'm happy that we had this conversation, and definitely I will strive to work with other persons in the diaspora or maybe other organizations to identify with the administration there, the regional administration, and the mayor and town council in Barnacle, particularly,
Yes,
to
yes,
identify for these small projects that could be managed by
yeah,
private resources and see how best we can contribute to the
yeah,
upkeep and development of the area.
yeah. Well, before I go, I want to say that I recognize that the CDC did go in with some hampers. They collaborated with the town council. The mayor was on the grounds, and
Okay.
we're happy for that. And I did receive information from the National Drainage and Irrigation. I've been talking with personnel from that department, and they have committed to sending in engineer or a team and so forth to assess on the ground and so forth. But I'm very hopeful that they would collaborate and work with the locals there as well, engineers on the ground and so forth, and even bring in more specialized people, because this problem, this situation, need real specialized people coming in to
Mm-hmm.
give sound advice on the issue. So moving forward, we're happy that we can identify what are the issues and try to solve them. Although the hampers and so forth short term is nice, it will aid a lot of the people, but we can't just wait for something to happen and then hand out to happen and believe
Yes.
that that fixes the problem. We got to really fix the infrastructure. So the need for a handout and so forth. I think the ultimate handout for me is fixing the issue,
Fixing the problem. Yes.
fixing
Yes.
the
Yes.
problem so the people benefit long term. We don't want
Mm-hmm.
to be a community that every time we were affected, we just look forward for a little hamper to come. That doesn't fix the problem, and that
Exactly.
doesn't sit with me. I'm thankful for such intervention at this time, because along with the flooding, people have been suffering tremendously over
Mm.
this 1 year, couple months of pandemic. They've lost jobs, they've lost so much, lost loved ones, suffered tremendous mental strain, and
Mm-hmm.
the people are really, really, I applaud the people of Guyana, actually. They really are a resilient people in these times, because the hardships are getting worse as the hours tick by, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous hardship. Let's not run away from that. They're tremendous hardships. You got to listen to the people on the ground to know what they're experiencing. Tremendous hardships.
Well, I guess I can understand because I recall in 2000, well, on the East Coast, I've while I was serving at the NDC there, we had a lot of floods, but the worst was in 2005,
Mhm.
and that was devastating. I remember going to bed, and sometime during the course of the period I was asleep, I awoke and something just told me, instead of getting off the bed, just drop your hand down and see, because we knew that we were having a lot of rain, and usually once there's a lot of rain in on the coastline, much more elsewhere, um, the water level rises. And
Yeah,
when I threw my hand off the bed, I heard plash. When I looked
yeah.
there, it was water in the house.
Mhm.
So I can
Well, this
understand
is this is a
what's been happening.
reminder of that situation. This is a
Mm.
reminder of that, and I remember that so well, because one of my good friends back then, I think she was the Miss Guyana World or Universe, because she held both of the titles. She
Okay.
actually came to Bartica and stayed with me for a number of weeks, because people just couldn't deal with the extent of damage. So I recall that so well. It People
Hmm.
had to literally move out of their homes and move into
Yes.
hotels and move away to relatives in another region, in another part of Guyana, because it was such a situation. And that's what I'm saying. We got to plan ahead for these situations, you know. We definitely need to plan better.
Yes, definitely. And I the notion we want to dispel this notion that people have that high hilly places don't get flooded out. That's a myth. That's not true. Remember, you spoke about the river water, the water level rising. Remember, the
Hmm.
water has to come from high before it gets low, and it
Yeah,
goes back and forth regardless of where it goes. You got to be very close to the source for it to keep going in the direction outward all the time. Otherwise, it goes back and forth. And once with this high tide and the global warming and all these things, where the water, um, in some areas the water level is rising, while in some areas it's drying away. But in Bartica, now that you're telling me that the water level rose tremendously, I can understand because if in the Mica River, Abari and those places, the water level was high at the back, obviously the rainfall would have caused the water level in the Escribble River to rise to unexpected levels. So the Barticians, I hope that you change your attitude towards the administration. The mayor does a phenomenal job. I was giving kudos to the mayor the other day. And
yeah.
listen, when it's good, you've got all the friends in the world. One
He's
thing
got a
goes
good team
wrong.
behind of him, you know. It's not a one man island. He's got a good team, you know.
Exactly.
He has some good people with him, and you know, you need to give recognition. You know, one
To
person
everybody.
doesn't do it. You know, sometimes we neglect to believe or to think that there's a driving force behind you.
Behind.
Sometimes
Okay.
you're in front, and there's a driving force behind you. So, but yes, especially in these times, you know, I mean, criticism is not necessarily a bad thing, but when it's unfair criticism, it's a
Hmm.
different thing, you know. We all try to do the best that we can, and we know those who has Bartica at heart, and the people of Bartica at heart, you know. So definitely kudos to the people on the grounds and the people of Bartica that has Bartica at heart and are not just there for their selfish interest or just to
Hmm.
see their family get rich. You know, they're people only there to so they can benefit. You know, let's change that. Let it be about the people. You know, and those are some of the forces that I spoke about earlier.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. You know what? Talking about the water, since I was a little girl, my mom used to say, you know, water does cut rock. So when we talk about the force of water, I mean, I've never actually seen it, but I believe it because we see the
Yes.
mountains and so. And when I went to Camarang, although Camarang is so high, so mountainous, you know, Camarang also floods. When I went into the Camarang River, and they were
Hmm.
explaining to me that it rises so high on the land. So, you know, like you said, it doesn't matter what part you are, you can experience flooding. We've been seeing it over the past years across the globe, you know, Guyana
Hmm.
being no different. But let me say this to you. I noticed my battery is a little bit low.
Yeah, that's all right.
So I
That's
don't
all right.
want it to just abruptly cut off. I don't know if you recognize that. Yeah, I neglected to fully charge my battery because since I've been up, I've been using my device and moving around and so forth. So it was
Sure.
lovely talking to you. Thank you for having me. Thank you to all those that are viewing and listening. Thank you for your time. It's a pleasure to actually be able to communicate. And I hope to do this soon again. You know, there is so much
Yes.
that we want to talk about. But today I didn't want to come on and be a doom and gloom kind of conversation because I believe that people are already experiencing so much and we need a little bit of hope, you know, and we
I
need
hear
to keep
you.
our prayers up, keep prayed up, and you know, things are going to turn around and we're going to see better, you know. The dark clouds don't stay hanging around forever. They have to move off and
Exactly.
sunlight will come again, and you know, everybody has been devastated because of this pandemic and negatively impacted despite who you are. I
Mm-hmm.
truly believe that everybody has been facing something from mental challenges, the financial challenges, some sort of challenge. So I just want to tell you to keep hopeful and support each other, and always think of the people, and think of the poor people, the people that are punishing. They're the ones that needs us the most, and think of how fortunate many of us are to actually have food on our
Mm-hmm.
table at this time, and if you can give something to someone that would make their life better, please do. Your blessings will be tremendous. We're only passing this
Amen.
way we're just passing this way once, and
Oh,
whatever we do here, our good deeds, it transcends with us. So our good
mhm.
deeds will go with us. The wicked shall perish. All right?
Amen to that.
So, yes, man, yes.
All
Wickedness
right.
will never prosper.
It was very nice talking with you, and I realize that we're losing you. Have a wonderful day. God's richest blessings, and continue to be the person you are. That was we had a conversation with the regional vice chairman, Region 7. Of course, Ms. Kamal Persaud. Um, she, like she said, she didn't want to be negative. Mr. Weeks apparently has left us. She has realized that her shot is frozen. Yeah, so I realized that she didn't want to be negative. She wanted to keep the conversation positive. I kept going in the direction of finding out, wanted to find out what contribution the government has actually been making towards investing in Bartica. But she wasn't willing to go there, and I appreciate that, because, like she said, people need to have some kind of hope. They need to be given hope. They need to have a lift. So that's a wonderful, that's a good leader in the time of gloom. Don't bring the gloom and doom talk. Leave that for another time and focus on the healthy, positive conversation, so that people can be lifted. All right. There are a few other things that I wished I had the time to highlight for you this morning. I had them well lined up here, but the conversation was so intense that we had to get all of it. But I want you to remember that Guyana today has um, a recorded total of 16,654 cases and 364 deaths. COVID-19 we're talking about. And I see in the Chronicle the president begging Guyanese to do our part. Every Guyanese to do their part in reducing the death, the number of deaths you're experiencing there. I think it's a good thing, except now that you're hearing that they're planning poorly, then we gotta ask ourselves, what the heck? How can you vaccinate 40,000 people today, and next week you boast that you have another 40,000 to vaccinate, but you don't have the second dose for this for the people who you vaccinated last week. Like, how we can't do that kind of nonsense, because the scientists have told us that if you do not take the second dose within the prescribed time, you've got to start all over again, because the first dose is what it would be of non effect. So that's what the scientists have said. If you schedule to take the second dose in 4 weeks' time, 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time, whatever, it has to be taken within a time frame, or else it nullifies the effect of the vaccine. So the government needs to plan properly. The health personnel needs to plan prudently, so that we don't have these snacks. Come on, man. Y'all do better than that. And then the other thing is, one would have expected that people, since the government officials are pushing the use of the Sputnik and the others, that they would have been leading the way to take the said Sputnik and the Chinese vaccine and whatever else. Why is it that you're shoving these other vaccines on the people in the country and you taking the AstraZeneca? Well, I mean, like, really? You take the ones that are suspect to encourage people to take anyone because nobody really has a problem with the AstraZeneca. Generally, everybody know, well, it is British made and they don't have any problem with it really. They just said that it was giving a lot in some cases, some blood clotting and what have you, but they've since overcome those things and it's good. If people have a problem with Sputnik, they have a problem with the Chinese one, I don't remember the name of it. You take that and show the world that it's good, no problem with it. You running, going, taking AstraZeneca. Well, then what are you telling the Guyanese? When they refuse, now you're making me feel stupid because I am telling the people my research has shown that the Sputnik is good and you're not taking it. So who's going to take it? Who's going to take it? Y'all need to be more prudent in your management of the affairs of the nation. I like the way my sister Kamal put it there just now. When you campaign for an election, you campaign as a political party. When you are seated in government, whether you win or not, whether they install you or you want it, you understand? When you have been seated in government, you expected to run the country, not a party manage the country. So we hope that the people in government are listening. I know they're listening. I know there's what they say every day. That I have it, they see it, they demand it. I know I've been told that. So that they can monitor it. They can pull what's going on, not the positives. They look for negatives only. They look for negatives only. So look for the positive vibes. Pull the positives from the show and implement. No harm. We ain't got copyright on it, so we gonna come behind you for charging for copyright, violation of copyright laws. No, I just talking. People come on, they just share information. We don't have a problem with you putting things in place, but manage the country. Manage the country. This open discrimination where you heard it, the vice chairman said Barca has a problem with water, potable water. Why not invest some of that money in the Barca water system? You invest in $6 billion in regions 3, 2, 6, 5. Those your regions that, well, so to speak, the regions that you want and the regions that you are predominantly supportive of the PPP. So what happened? People don't live in region 4, but the thing is, y'all got to note, while that is happening, they don't announce they're doing anything in region 4, but they will go into select communities in region 4 and quietly do work. Quietly do work for their people. So it ain't going on as region 4. You're going to hear people in Mole, people in Enterprise, people in Strathspey, you know, people in Clonbrook, that kind of stuff, you know. But you won't hear a Victoria or a Buxton or a BV when it comes to the government spending money. This government, it will be quietly done in their areas and nothing done in the other areas. Generally, we intend to bring region 4 to its knees. We can bring region 7 to its knees. We can bring region 10 to its knees. You heard of region 7, region 10, they're saying the same thing. Same thing. And this has got to stop. Systems have got to be put in place to ensure that this kind of vindictive politics is gotten rid of. We get rid of that nonsense. You're govern the country, ensure that everybody in the country is comfortable and everybody in the country is taken care of so that we can all be comfortable and happy and healthy in our country. In our country. All right. That's all for today. That's all for the week. We look forward to having a better week next week. We hope that those persons who have been flooded out, I'm sorry to hear, not the flood didn't only affect Region 7, as you heard the Vice Chairman said. And she's very, very kind throwing it around to everybody, including everybody in the conversation when the government doesn't do that. It's sad, very sad. That's the difference between good people and the people who she described at the end when she said they will burn. They will burn. You know, that's the difference between the two types of people, the two sets of people. Have a wonderful weekend. God's richest blessings to you. Don't forget to drop a little something in the pot there. Well, I mean the melting pot there, so that the bills can be taken care of. PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. You have a wonderful weekend. God's richest blessings to you. For those of us who I'm not sure if we're gonna have any show on Monday because Monday is it Memorial Day? I think Memorial Day. I think that is it. I don't remember all these things. But Monday is a holiday here in the USA. So, people might take the holiday off. You never can tell, but we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday and Friday of next week. Until then, you be safe and enjoy the blessings of life. Tata, bye bye.